Having said that, I still, my shop's not done. It's not how I want it to be. If it was perfect, it would be like, I don't know. Anyways, let me just grab the camera here and we'll take a walk around and I'll kind of show you what I'm hoping to go through with this shop. All right, guys, let's pick up where we left off yesterday. We'll go ahead and give you a shop tour. I'll show you kind of what I'm hoping to do, where things are heading, and kind of my ideas behind some of these changes I'm making. First things first, we'll just head to this far end of the shop. Obviously, this is a 2-car garage. I do park our vehicle on the one side of it. Here, I've got my air compressor. One project I really want to get done in the next several months, maybe a year, is I want to pipe air so I can run it over up along the ceiling there where I have my electric there, and then drop down to a few choice locations in my shop so that I'm not having to use this all the time. I mean, this thing's working great. I'm going to leave it here because it's really handy for vehicles or bicycles outside, but every time I need air, I run this hose across here, and it's just kind of it's clunky and cumbersome, so I'd like to fix that. And here I have my table saw, chop saw, winter tires, bicycle parts, and then some car jacks and stuff like that. Garbage. Yeah, wintertime, kids' hockey bags get kept right here. Now, right over here real quick, I've got my welder, my shop vac, my little step ladder, which I use a lot. And then this thing here is a hockey skate sharpener. Also use that a lot, keeping the kids' skates nice and sharp. And all this stuff kind of gets parked right here and it stays here all the time. My bow is just out right now because it's hunting season and I'm constantly putting it in and out of vehicles. And then we get over to here, and this is my main mechanic toolbox. This is the one where I do my vehicle repairs out of, and I'll just show you that I haven't gone completely insane with minimalism yet. So it's not like I don't own any tools, right? I think from that video yesterday, a lot of people were like, wow, he's getting rid of everything he owns. And I'm not, but I have gotten rid of a lot. And it's nice to have it gone and not in my way. I hear beeping outside. Anyways, one other area I should show you real quick. This is kind of my buffing station. And I just did this on the opposite wall of my milling machine area. It's out of the way and it's not a big deal just to kind of walk over here when I need to. Having said that, if I had more shop space, this would definitely be over on this side. So also kind of taking a look real quick, I have a huge collection of vintage tools. Decoration. Really like this. Something's going on outside. I gotta check this out. Weird. So anyways, I've got a whole bunch of tools. I'm gonna start adding them and spreading them all around here so that I can enjoy them. I can take a moment in my day and look up and say, that's a really neat thing. And it's not causing me a headache, it's not causing me frustration, but it still shows, I really do appreciate tools. It's true. Now, coming back over to this side here, this area, this is kind of my shipping area. So I've got my old MacBook Pro I've had forever and ever, and then my printer. Really enjoy having a printer and a computer with the internet out in the shop. So much research and stuff. It's nice, like, heat treating information. I can print off different heat treat recipes. And then typically when a knife's done, I can print off the shipping information. My shipping supplies are down there, package the knife, throw a sticker in with it, and boom, it's ready to go all right from here. Really like this. I've got 2 drawers of belts. These are all the brand new belts. And I'd like to actually add a 3rd drawer for new belts because I kind of squishing everything in there. I use this for random storage like my Kydex press, some sharpening supplies, just some basic things. Simple little life sign from Mike. Thanks, buddy. Love that thing. I turn it on almost every single day. Here we've got chemical storage, basically, like different adhesives, solvents, oils, stuff like that. I do have some drawers, and I'd like to put in a whole bunch of vertical drawers. So the aerosol cans would stack like this, and I can just kind of slide them in and out. That's kind of my goal with that. And then this area right here is, I'm really happy with this. My idea is that I don't want to have to go into that to get tools when I'm making knives. So I just come right here, and you know, there's not a lot of tools on here. I could definitely fit a lot more, but I don't need any more because these are pretty much the only thing I want on this pegboard here is to relate to knife making or for adjusting some of the tooling I use for making knives and stuff like that. So really happy with this little area here. It works great. Got my Fordham over this way, my big bench vise. Underneath here, I have my carpentry tool storage, garbage bags, rags, gloves, stuff like that. Now, if we just turn around this way, this was probably the most recent bench that I had made, and obviously I do a lot of my YouTube filming right here, but I like to typically keep this thing fairly empty. I mean, I got a lot of stuff on it right now, but it's nice just to have some place where you can always have something to put something down. If I'm working on bicycles, sometimes like, oh, I need to change a tire, well, I can bring it up here, and I've got a clean, large work area, and then, you know, if you just clean up after yourself right away, it's really nice having open spaces. When you're in the middle of something, they're super, super handy. And then in here, this is just electronic storage for the cameras and some of the gear and junk. It's amazing how much junk you accumulate when you want to make YouTube videos. So I just put it here because it's easy to get at, and then it stays somewhat dust. Well, not really, I guess. But over here, I've got my wonderful window. This was causing a lot of issues with the autofocus yesterday, but it's really nice sometimes. It's nice to be able to just look outside and see things that are going on. But then, you know, a lot of times I set my tripod right here and I can do some talking, and I've always got this great window light. And it's actually wonderful for working in here too. It's just, it's nice and bright without even having to turn the lights on. I got my kiln there, my little toaster oven, my oil tank, and then my plate quench. And then I also keep my liquid nitrogen right beside here so that everything's kind of in one area. And then if I need to, I mean, this is all on wheels and I can slide this out, and I've got this entire area underneath this window free and clear. Now to the left of that, I've got my 2 drill presses, and the drill presses, I mean, honestly, if I could find 2 more that are a decent price, I would buy 2 more drill presses. You know, I'm constantly changing out my drills and my drill press. If I got another drill press right now today, I would put a 1/4 inch Forstner bit in there and just leave that dedicated 100% of the time strictly for doing kydex. You know, I could just bolt this down and it would never touch. That would be a permanent tool, a single use tool, but it would save me an awful lot of time, and I think it would be completely worth it. So drill presses, man, honestly, if I had 2 or 3 more drill presses, I would definitely use them, and I'd make space for them and make them work within here. They would be far more valuable to me than the lathe was that sat right here. Before we get to the lathe part, the milling machine, 90% of the time, I have it set up with a countersink. That's pretty much what this thing does. I mean, obviously I still do some machining with it, but I use this thing for countersinking, and it's nice to be able to drill my holes. And sometimes, you know, you drill a few holes and you got burrs on the one side so it doesn't sit flat. Well, without changing any tooling, I can just bring it right here, turn it on, boom, take those burrs off, and then go back. Now, again, this whole workspace that I freed up where my lathe was, this is fantastic. I love this because when I'm grinding my knives, here, let me put this light on. When I'm grinding my knives, you know, typically I'll do at least a few at a time, like 3 or 4, maybe up to 10, but it's nice to have all my work laid out. So sometimes I'll set out like 8 knives, I can take one, I can grind it all, and then I can put it back and I take the next one so I can kind of see where my progress is, keep things organized. Before, I used to keep things on here and here and here. And you know what? You bump one and they fall down and it's just a mess. And then this is really nice. And I don't think I'm going to give up this space anytime soon. I love having this space. Also, new tool that's kind of, not a new tool, but this little thing has been through so many iterations, this little stand, and I'm really happy with this one. Before, you may have remembered I had a blue cart that sat right there. I took that stand, I cut this portion of it off, and then I just welded it to this plate and bolted it onto here. I've got my foot switch down there, so it's on and off. Making a few of these changes, moving this to here, getting rid of my horizontal grinder, which is right there. It's really allowed me to get this, and this is what I want. I mean, this might not be everybody's dream, but this is like, this to me is far superior than, you know, another horizontal grinder. One thing I still want to figure out is good belt storage and maybe organization, because I mean, I think this is kind of what everybody does, some type of a hook, but you end up, you know, kind of mixing up belts and getting them kind of conglomerated together. I mean, I've got belts right here, I've got belts right here, I've got belts right here, and I've got belts right here. It's probably just a matter of coming up with a system, maybe labeling it, and just being very strict about it, you know, like, you start here, go this way, stick to your guns with it, right? Like, as you start to wear belts out, throw them out. If you're not going to use it anymore, throw it out. I think it's one of the hardest parts about knife making is belt organization and then throwing out belts when you should throw a belt. So this is great. This is a lot better than it was. And you know, having that horizontal grinder gone was wonderful because it freed up all that space. I would love to get that dust collection put up somewhere. I don't know if that's even possible, just because they're so tall. But that takes up a lot of real estate on the floor, and if I could, you know, get that out of here, use this all the time, never giving that up. I love having a dust collector. But if I could, you know, get my sandblast cabinet moved over there, this would be completely wide open. You know, you get that up there, get some pipes run down, pipe in some air so we don't have to run hoses. There's not a lot that I really need to do here to get this to be what my idea of just like, oh, this is really, really efficient now. This is the way I want it to be. I'm pretty happy with the way it is. And then I guess one thing I forgot to mention is underneath here I just keep like different steel storage for all my knife steels, a few tools. I got lots of room for storage. And you know, I have a lot of room in this shop still. It's not like it's chocked full, but this is the way I like it. You know, you look at the floors, and I really don't have too much that's in the way. So sweeping this floor is fairly easy, right? I mean, it's not like I've got cords running all over. It's not like I don't know. I find I just like having less stuff around, kind of well thought out stuff, so that cleaning it is much easier. So let's head out to the shipping container. That's a completely different story from the garage here. It's an absolute mess, but that's also part of my future vision. I've got plans for that. I've got a way I'd like that to be, and I'll show you those real quickly. Gonna need a jacket though. It's starting to get a little bit cooler again. We've already had a good chunk of snow this year. Thread. We've had some beautiful weather the last week or two, but we're starting to get to the point where we're going below freezing every night again, so I think this time winter is kind of going to start showing up and sticking around. Right here is where I had my quad, but I got rid of my quad. That's probably another one of those things where a lot of you guys are like, why on earth would you get rid of your quad? I drove my quad once this summer, and that wasn't because I needed to. It was just because I was like, you know what? That thing's been sitting for a good long while. I need to get some oil up in the cylinders, fling some oil around the crankcase. It's not good for a vehicle just to sit there, so I had to take it out for a ride. Essentially, there was nothing this year that I'd used it for. We bought that quad for doing fencing and kind of setting up our property. Well, all that work is done, and like we just don't use it anymore. So I thought, you know what? The quad went from the front of that to about here. And that quad took up all this space. So I thought, you know what? What do I rather have? A quad that I don't use or space that I could use? It's a tough question. And quite frankly, I think people are a little bit psychotic about some of the stuff that they keep. Like the comments that I've had from other people, like,
you're so stupid, you got rid of your quad.
And it's like, I don't ride my quad.
Yeah, but you're dumb. You should never get rid of it.
But I don't use it.
Yeah, you're dumb. I can't believe you got rid of it.
I can't believe we're having this conversation. Out here, I wouldn't mind getting into a two-purpose type of building. Dirt bikes, being able to work on these, leave the mess. Sometimes when you're pulling an engine apart, you gotta go in for supper, and then something else comes up. It's nice just to leave all that out. And then I would really like to set up the forge in here, I think. The one thing I'm not sure is maybe there's a way to reinforce it. There has to be a way. There's got to be a way to make this work. But if you could actually have the anvil in here, you know, it's not a flammable building, and I could have my forge in here, the anvil, and I could actually do some blacksmithing. That's what I would love to have happen over here. The wood stove will probably stick around because if I'm working the wintertime here, it actually does a great job at heating up this little shop. Who knows? Maybe we'll move back in here and start doing YouTube videos out here again. This workbench, I would like to ideally keep this around. It's handy. I'd probably get this mounted back on the wall again. It's taken up a lot of space on this workbench. So I'd like to get this cleared out so that this is always free and wide open and ready to work. As you can tell, it's just a mess, a schmozzle. Like I cut up stainless knives and then I just throw my grinder here and I get back to working on the knives, and then you end up with something like this, which isn't that great. Like brand new Craftsman socket sets, brand spanking new, still wrapped up in paper. This set's probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years old. May as well just find somebody who needs it and give it away to them rather than keep it stored here, because I've owned that for that long. I've probably owned that for 20 years and I've never opened it. That's ridiculous. Cold cutting chop saw, still use that thing all the time, absolutely love it. This air compressor, probably gonna toss it. This one still works, but in the cold, it doesn't fire right away. It needs to be warm, so it's kind of useless out here. I bought a different one, and it fires right up in the cold, so it'll be much better out here than this. This is just a crap shelf, I think. I think this could probably go. I could get rid of most everything in here. Here are some of the vintage tools I was talking about. Got a lot of vintage electronic gauges. Like these things are brand new. It's kind of fun. Here's an old vintage Mastercraft. Like that's, I don't know, probably maybe 80s, 70s. I don't know. I don't even know what this thing is, but some of these I actually got from my late uncle. That's some type of a measuring chingus. Ohms. It's an ohm meter. Look at that ohm meter. That is cool. You can check out, you know, all these little attachments for checking out your resistance, I guess, you know, for lights, or obviously looks like some type of an automotive tool. That's cool. I'm not an electrician. I kind of have a vague understanding of how this stuff works. Just enough to be dangerous. An old Honeywell. Oh, that's a voltmeter. That's cool. Wonder how old this one is. It's not that old, but like tools still in the box, like some of these Briggs & Stratton tools, brand new in the box, OEM. I'm gonna hang on to those things because I like the nostalgia stuff. So snowblower, and then here's my little chest, my tool box out here. And again, see, I've got some decent sockets here, enough to do the work I need to do on dirt bikes. Pliers, some more electric stuff. You know, I can do a lot of work out of this thing. I could fix some dirt bikes and work on my snowblower, and I want the toolbox to stay here, and I want it to be set up so that I can actually do work out of here. I'm not going between here and the garage to get stuff. All these shelves that I built here were from when I did worked out of here full time, and I don't use these so much anymore. But then like this whole shelf, I think I could get rid of. This will stay, but then this whole area will be free and clear. Things like this steel, threaded rod and stuff, I'm not tossing that stuff because I'm always coming into here and taking a little piece for this, or I need something for that. But better organization, you see, because this is just stuff falling everywhere. This whole area is kind of unusable. I can shuffle things like my riding mower. I could put right here and park it here in the winter time. You know, I just think that all this stuff is kind of killing the space that I have and limiting the things that I can do in here. And so that's kind of where my whole premise is. I think a lot of people from the comments are thinking that I must be some tool hater, some guy that just, oh, I hate everything to do with tools. And that's certainly not the case. But I'm taking good hard looks at things, and I'm asking myself, is this really something I need to hold on to? Is it allowing me to do what I want to do better, or is it hindering me from doing what I want to do? I would love it if this shop was completely empty and I could start from scratch, but I can't because I have stuff in here. And some of the stuff has to stay, and some of it's gonna cause me to not be able to do the things that I want to do, so I always have to ask that question. Is it worth keeping, or can we live without it? Well guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I thank you so much for watching, and more than anything, in sharing this whole kind of idea of getting rid of tools. You know, if nothing else, just to get you thinking. I'm not trying to change your mind or convince you otherwise, but there's not a lot of things that you see out there that will make you ask the questions that I'm posing in these videos. So that's all this was, just to tell you kind of the things that I'm thinking about lately and I'm enjoying. You might too. Chances are, I mean, based on the comments, I think 90% of you think I'm a wingnut for saying the stuff that I'm saying, and that's totally cool. You know, mutual respect. It is what it is. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.